He slammed his hand on my door and shouted, "Give me the keys, now!" Karen stood behind him with her arms crossed, smiling like she already won. She yelled that he was a cop and I was being evicted today. Neighbors came out, phones up. My kids froze behind me. I didn't argue. I just asked, "Since when does an HOA take house keys?" Karen stepped closer and hissed that I broke rules that didn't exist. Then she whispered, "Do it. Arrest him." Her husband reached for his cuffs. That's when my wife came out, calm, phone recording, eyes locked on his badge like she was counting something. The smile on Karen's face faded. She didn't know why my wife was smiling back. One quiet sentence cut the air. "That badge number better be real." Karen laughed and said my wife was bluffing. She waved a folded paper and claimed it was an HOA seizure order. Her husband told me to step aside or things would get hard. I felt my chest tighten when he took one step toward my kids. My wife moved in front of them without raising her voice. She asked him where his body cam was. He paused. Karen jumped in fast, saying HOA cases don't need cameras. My wife nodded slowly, then pulled out her own badge, low and steady, not flashing it yet. She asked him one simple thing. "Which department are you with?" He answered too quick. "Wrong city." I saw her thumb stop the recording. Karen's smile cracked. One neighbor whispered, "Something's off." My wife finally showed the badge fully and said, "I don't work HOA cases. I investigate fake cops." Karen snapped and screamed that my wife was lying. She told her husband to take control. He tried to laugh it off, but his hand was shaking now. My wife stepped closer and said his name out loud. His real name. He froze. She said he was on desk duty, suspended, not active patrol. Karen's face went pale. She didn't know that my wife ran background checks for a living. Then the tow truck rolled in, called by Karen 10 minutes earlier. The driver started hooking my car like it was normal. My son asked if we were losing our home. That hit hard. I felt angry, but my wife stayed calm. She told the driver to stop and quietly showed him her badge. He backed up fast. Karen started yelling that everyone was corrupt. That's when my wife made the call. Not 911, internal affairs. One line said it all. "I've got an officer abusing power on private land." Karen tried to grab my wife's phone. She missed and almost fell. Her husband stepped back like he didn't know her anymore. Sirens came fast, not slow, real ones. Karen's voice changed, and she said this was all a misunderstanding. My wife didn't answer her. She asked me for the property file from the truck. I handed it over. Deed, survey, county stamp. My wife showed it to the first real cop who arrived. He read it twice. Then he looked at Karen and asked why she was on land she didn't control. Karen said HOA owned everything. The cop shook his head. "There is no HOA here." That line hit the crowd hard. Karen screamed that her husband would fix this. The cop looked at him and asked for his badge again. He didn't move. My wife leaned in and said, "You already lost. You just don't know how bad yet." Karen started crying loud, like that would save her. She pointed at me and said I threatened her family. One of the cops asked her to slow down. Another asked for proof. My wife played the video. The sound was clear. "Give me the keys or you're going to jail." You could hear my kids in the background. The crowd went silent. Karen's husband tried to step in and say the video was edited. That's when the cop told him to turn around. He said internal affairs was already on the way. Karen shouted that this was her neighborhood. A neighbor spoke up and said she did this before. Another said she towed his car last month. Karen's face changed when she realized people were not scared anymore. The cop looked at her and said, "You don't run this street." My wife added one calm line that people won't forget. "Power feels strong until the truth shows up." Karen tried to walk away like nothing happened. One cop stopped her and asked her name again. She gave a fake calm smile, but her hands were shaking. Internal affairs arrived in an unmarked car. They didn't talk loud. They didn't rush. That scared her more. They asked Karen's husband to step aside. He said he was just helping his wife. One agent checked the badge number, then looked up and said it didn't match today's assignment. Karen started shouting that everyone was lying. Then the agent pulled out printed complaints, pages of them, towing, threats, fake notices. Karen went quiet. She looked at her husband for help. He wouldn't look back. The agent said, You used his badge to scare people. That was the moment. She knew the game was over. One neighbor whispered a line that spread fast. She bullied the wrong house. They put cuffs on Karen first. She kept saying this was her community, her rules. No one answered her. Her husband was walked to a different car, head down, badge gone. My kids held my hands tight as the street finally went quiet. One cop told me my house was safe and always had been. My wife hugged the kids, then me, like she was finally breathing again. Neighbors came over, not scared anymore. Just tired of being pushed. The agent said charges were coming and the HOA papers were fake from day one. When they drove away, the flag on my porch moved in the wind. I looked at my home and felt something heavy lift. I said one line that came from deep inside. I didn't earn this land to hand it over to bullies. That night, our lights stayed on, our door stayed locked by us, and everyone learned the same lesson. Power means nothing when the truth stands its ground. The next morning felt different. Quiet, but strong. Karen's house was empty, blinds shut, sign gone. Word spread fast through the street. People waved, some nodded with respect. One neighbor brought coffee and said she slept better for the first time in years. My kids played outside again without looking back at the road. My wife stood on the porch, badge clipped away like it was never needed. A county truck came later and removed the fake HOA sign from the entrance. No speech, no drama, just truth fixing what lies broke. I looked at my wife and realized Karen never feared me. She feared what she couldn't control. And the line that stayed with everyone, the one people kept repeating online, was simple and real. Freedom doesn't shout. It waits for the truth to show up. A week later, a letter came from the county. Not a warning, a thank you. It said an illegal HOA ring was being investigated because of what happened at my house. Karen wasn't alone. That shook me. Same day, a reporter knocked, asking how long we had been fighting the HOA. I told him we never fought. We just stood still and let lies run into the truth. That night, my wife showed me something new on her phone. A message from Internal Affairs. More arrests coming. More badges pulled. I looked at my street, calm and normal, and realized how close we were to losing everything without knowing why. My wife leaned close and said, "They always test quiet houses first." That line stayed with me, because now everyone on this block knew something important. Silence isn't weakness, it's patience. 2 days later, Karen's name showed up online. Not gossip, court records, fake authority, trespassing, using a badge that wasn't hers. People shared it fast. Same neighbors who once stayed quiet were now speaking loud. One family said she forced them to pay fines that never existed. Another said she threatened their kids over chalk on the sidewalk. I felt angry thinking about how long it went on. That evening, a black SUV stopped in front of our house. My heart skipped. A man stepped out, not police. County Land Office. He handed me a stamped paper and said, "Your property line protects 3 other homes." Karen tried to take land that wasn't hers. I watched him drive away and understood the real twist. Stopping her didn't just save us. It broke the whole scam. My wife looked at me and said one quiet line that felt heavy and true. She picked the wrong door because she thought kindness meant weak. That night, someone knocked again. Not loud, careful. It was one of the neighbors Karen scared the most. Older guy, hand shaking. He said Karen's husband came to his house months ago and told him to move his fence or go to jail. No papers, no reason, just fear. He never spoke up until now. My wife told him he wasn't in trouble and never was. He sat down and cried like something broke loose. More neighbors came after that. One by one. Same story, different day. Fake power, real fear. I realized Karen didn't just want control. She wanted silence. Before leaving, the old man looked at my house and said something I'll never forget. When one family stands, others remember how. The next morning, police cars lined the street, not for show, just work. They knocked on doors, asked questions, took statements. No yelling this time, no fear. Karen's house stayed quiet. By afternoon, a notice went up on the community board. Not from an HOA, from the county. It said all past fines were void. Every tow was illegal. Refunds were coming. People stood there reading it again and again like it wasn't real. One mom hugged my wife and said her kids stopped having nightmares. That hit deep. I realized Karen's power was never real. It only lived because people believed it. As the sun went down, my wife said a line that felt like the final truth of it all. Fake authority dies the moment people stop bowing. That evening, a patrol car stopped by one last time. The officer smiled and said the case was bigger than anyone thought. Multiple neighborhoods, same pattern, same tricks. Karen's name was now part of a file that wouldn't disappear. After he left, I sat on the steps and watched my kids draw on the sidewalk again. No fear, no looking over their shoulders. My wife sat next to me and said this would be taught in training someday. How fake power works and how it falls. I asked her if she knew it would end like this. She shook her head and said, I just knew the truth was heavier than her lies, as the lights came on across the street. One thing felt clear to everyone watching. This block would never be quiet out of fear again. In the end, Karen lost everything she tried to control. Her fake power vanished the moment truth showed up. Our home stayed ours. Our kids felt safe again. The street learned to stand together. No more fear. No more silence. Just one simple truth everyone remembered. Real power doesn't bully and fake power never lasts.